This week's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Comixology. Are you tired of your favorite movies getting pushed back again and again and again and being stuck inside and not being able to do anything or go see anything fun? Check out Comixology.com. Read all the stories that all of these movies are based on and get in the know. Comixology.com. Sign up for a free Comixology Unlimited trial and you can read everything. You can read The Boys. You can read Lock and Key. You can read Batman. You can read whatever you want. Visit infamouspodcast.com/Comixology to sign up today. Hey, welcome back to the Infamous Podcast. This is Brian.
This is Darryl.
And this is episode. Darryl, this is an episode 268. Pebbles keep falling on my head.
Our post-Christmas special.
It is our post-Christmas. I guess it's our special regular episode. So, I mean, we've had a bunch of bonus episodes here at the end of the year and everything. So it is all fine and good. But yeah. So this week we have the return of News Bites, and the amazing 4th episode of season 5 of the Expanse.
Man. Yeah.
Best episode of the series, hands down.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not
right
the
now,
series, but best episode of the season.
One of the best episodes of the series. I won't, just because of recency bias, I don't like, I want to step back.
Yeah, that's why I took that step back.
I can't wait to get into that one.
Yeah, I just moonwalked that one right back.
Okay, Nick.
All right. So, Darryl, did you have a good Christmas?
Yes. We got got some good loot, some good Funko Pop loot.
So, did you just get Pops, or did you get other stuff too?
No, I got some other stuff. Got some clothes. My sister and nieces got me this Michigan Jenga set, which is pretty cool.
So it just falls over anytime someone with an Ohio State shirt walks by?
Yes. It's funny you said that because I was actually going to make the joke myself.
Oh, it just folds up.
Football-wise. Basketball was Michigan 7-0.
Yeah, I mean, but Ohio State is not a basketball school.
Yeah, Michigan wasn't a
let's be honest.
School.
Ohio's not a school. Ohio State's not a school. It's a football factory. But, that's neither here nor there.
This is very accurate. Yes.
Anyway, yeah, no, cool. Yeah, I got a sweet ass Ahsoka statue from Gentle Giant.
Looks awesome.
It is. It's very cool. I got the rest of the Dune McFarlane figures, which I gotta say they look great, but like, I don't know. Like, they're all wearing still suits, right? Which kind of bothers me. I kind of wish they would have been in some they would have had at least Paula and Jessica in Atreides garb to start,
kind of like the Poppet will have.
Right.
He's going to be in the Atreides garb.
So there's that. And then I had to go add the Beast Urban figure with the hairdryer to get all the pieces to go in. So that was fun.
Oh, that's.
But other than that, they look amazing.
They look great.
I'll be honest, the Baron is the best looking one.
Yeah, I haven't unboxed mine yet.
Yeah.
But your Baron, because you had that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I got that for my birthday.
Pretty sweet.
But yeah, I made room on the shelf, so I don't know. I think I don't know. Anyway, I got a ton of Amazon gift cards.
Oh, that's always good.
So that Enterprise, NX-01 Enterprise from Enterprise that I have that came from the magazine where you get the ship.
Yes.
So, apparently they have Battlestar Galactica ones too.
Do they have bears and beets?
No, but I do have Lee's Viper and a Raptor on the way.
Already.
Yeah. And I have Starbucks Viper and a Heavy Raptor and the Blackbird in my Amazon cart. Maybe I will get these. So.
You'll have to send me those pictures of some of those or links.
Yeah, I'll say. They're on Amazon. Anyway, they're awesome. But they're big. They're not like the little titanium ones that we like.
Yeah,
they're bigger ones. So I don't know. I was sitting there at Christmas at the table last night ordering those. I'm like, thank you for the Battlestar Galactica ship I just ordered. So I got a really cool, thumb assist open Kershaw. Another just what I need, more pocket knives. I've kind of gone down a rabbit hole thanks to Forged in Fire. There's a sword in my future. There's 100% a sword in my future.
Oh, dude, like that's the one thing I have several different types of knives. I have a machete because we need that in Northern Kentucky for whatever reason.
Well, you have Kentuckians to deal with. So
yeah. Yeah, I have this nice little kind of throwing axe, some other stuff. But yeah, I want a sword. I've always wanted a sword.
But I'm not going to go douchey and get a katana.
What's wrong with the katana?
I mean, come on. I mean, it's kind of cliche. Oh, I have a sword. Yeah. Oh, you don't have a sword. You have a katana like everybody else. It's probably not even sharp. But no, so I'm like, maybe a gladius, like one of the Roman swords.
I was about to say, get Cloud's Buster Sword, even though that's not a real thing. It just would not work from a physics standpoint.
Maybe I'll just get a Sword of Omens.
Oh, which size? The full size or the
full
before
size?
The pre-Thunder Thrice?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I get both.
Okay, that's
or I get Sokka's space sword. Anyway, if we're gonna go like mythical.
Yeah.
Anywho, so in news, DC is making cuts again. They're gonna lay off more people, which is horrible. But they're cutting the line, which used to be like, so it used to be they had 52 titles. Like they were stuck on this. We have to have 52 single titles. They are cutting the slate to 34 titles, monthly titles. Even Aquaman is getting canceled, which is really weird because that's the $1 billion franchise that they have in the movies right now.
Yeah.
But I'll explain more in a second. The interesting thing of the titles, 13 of them are from the Batman family. So here, okay, so I'm not gonna go through all of them, but here's what I don't understand. So the Crime Syndicate is one of the titles starting in March. The Crime Syndicate is the alternate timeline evil version of the Justice League. Nobody cares. Batman Urban Legends, that is coming out of the future state, I believe, with Lucius Fox's estranged son, who was mentioned like 20 years ago briefly in a comic book as a Batman. Teen Titans Academy, who cares? Catwoman, really? Like, really? The Sensational Wonder Woman. This is the South America Wonder Woman that they're going to have. So that'll be interesting. Batman Black and White, who cares? American Vampire, that book is still around. I can't believe it. The Dreaming Waking Hours, I don't know what that is. Man-Bat, who's reading Man-Bat?
These are some very curious, and I'm being very nice when I say curious decisions.
Yeah, so it's very strange of what's happening. At least there's the Flash. There's only one Green Lantern, the Green Lantern season 2, which I did not. I stopped reading Green Lantern a couple years ago when they made 47 different Earth Green Lanterns. But yeah, it's really, really strange. So you've got Batman, you've got Detective Comics, which starting at 1034, don't bother getting it because it's written by the lady who wrote I'm Not Starfire, the YA novel where apparently Starfire gave birth to the Penguin. Yeah. Anyway, so
was that a joke or
no?
Were you serious?
No. I mean, it's not really. I mean, but the character on the cover looks more like the Penguin than like Starfire.
Yes.
So,
this is
anywho,
true.
But yeah, so DC is actively trying to kill their comics line. That's the only thing I can think of. They don't want to publish comics anymore. They just want to do, YA novels. Like, I would not be shocked, and I don't have anything to back this up, but I would not be shocked within the next year if we find out that they've licensed their characters to other publishers.
Yeah,
and they've just done away with DC Comics as a whole. Which will be a nightmare because there will be no oversight in what you can do with these characters anymore. And there will be someone who makes Nightwing gay. Just flat out.
Yeah. And again, you're the DC guy. I was never big into DC growing up, but that is, DC Comics, that is a mainstay in our modern myths of superheroes. Yeah. And the idea of that just being kind of, blown away and, characters licensed out to the highest bidder is really disheartening to hear.
Well, so here's the thing with DC. Marvel's huge because of the MCU, right? Mm-hmm. But like, if you show someone like a Captain America shield in a third world country, they don't know that's Captain America. If you show someone a picture of Iron Man, they don't necessarily know who that character is. You show someone a bat symbol, a Superman symbol, or a Wonder Woman symbol, they flat out, they know who it is. They know about the characters. They know all sorts of stuff because those three characters are the most iconic characters in modern fiction, hands down. Yeah, and no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, I will say that I was just telling one of my friends who's not, who's I've introduced into the MCU, and I was saying, how WB just sucks, from a movie perspective and just from an overall, everything with HBO Max, how they just screwed the pooch with a lot of these, things like this. And I was explaining that I was like, look, DC has Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and as much as I love Captain America, as much as I love Iron Man, again, prior to the MCU movies, the it wasn't even close.
No,
because I didn't read Captain America when I was growing up. I didn't read Iron Man. I did read Thor. I read the X-Men and the Hulk and stuff like that. But yeah, the MCU made these characters far more popular than they were in the comics. But when you have
hot take, Robin is more recognizable than Captain America or Iron Man in the world.
Yeah. So when you have that type of background of characters and you just basically you obviously don't know what to do with them, you don't care about them, and that's the thing. We've talked about this with Star Wars. Why give people projects that they don't really care about the characters, especially characters that have a history like this? And again, like, I thought it was interesting that, and again, I'm not comparing Aquaman to the big three, obviously, but like you said, that's $1 billion movie. They're looking to do things with Aquaman, and they cancel the comic, and yet they keep Man-Bat.
Right. So they said they're only doing things to sell, right? Well, here's the problem with this. Quit hiring people who aren't gonna write good stories and who have weird agendas.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, DC's definitely in trouble. All right, let's move on because it's just going to get us into trouble the more we talk about this. Ted Lasso is likely going to end after season 3, says Bill Lawrence, the creator. Now, Ted Lasso is an amazing show on Apple TV Plus about an American college football coach who goes and coaches a Premier League soccer team, and it's just awesome. It's my favorite show of 2020, and it was great. It's already been renewed for seasons 2 and 3, so there's nothing to worry about there. But on Zach Braff and Donald Faison's podcast, Bill Lawrence said, don't expect a season 4. Bill Lawrence created Scrubs. He also created Spin City.
That's a strong back. I didn't know that. I didn't know you had that strong background.
Oh yeah, Bill Lawrence is awesome.
Yeah, I remember watching Spin City back in the day at reruns at 11 o'clock.
He also did the show Undateable, which went. I think it might have done 3 seasons. It definitely did 2 on NBC, and it was kind of notable because eventually they just started doing it live, and so the East Coast and the West Coast were actually 2 different shows. Like, they did not necessarily do things the exact same way. So it was really fun to watch both versions of the show. It starred Brett Morin and Chris D'Elia.
Okay, I remember the title. I never watched it, but I remember seeing stuff about that. Just didn't catch my eye.
Yeah, it was a silly, funny, weird little show that, the type of thing, the single camera thing that I like. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to check out Ted Lasso. I mean, you've been talking about it for a while now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to wait until season 2 comes out, but I don't think I will. I'll probably just throw up.
Well, season 2 is supposed to go into production in January, but they're unclear of how the new lockdowns in the UK are going to affect things like that. So we will we'll have to wait and see. But if you guys have not watched Ted Lasso and you got an iPhone or an iPad or anything, you should be getting like a free trial to Apple TV Plus. Definitely worth checking out. I think they do a free month trial still for that. So
yeah, and like I told you last month when the PS5 got released, I have a PS4 and it's Apple TV Plus is available on PS4 now. So
yeah, maybe just try the trial. I'm tired of paying for your streaming services, Darryl. Anyway, all right. So the next story. So Wonder Woman came out yesterday. I've watched the first 45 minutes of it. Darryl, I don't know how much of you've watched. None, right?
No. Yeah, I'll probably watch it later tonight.
Yeah. So I'm gonna finish it when we're done recording. But Patty Jenkins came out and revealed that the first ending was changed by Warner Brothers, which is nothing that we didn't know. But she really kind of went into detail about it in this story from it was from IGN, but I was reading it on Bounding Into Comics. But she said, and so there's always been a little bit of a bummer. That's the one thing people talk about because I agreed. And I told the studio we don't have time to do it when they're talking about changing the ending and making it much larger than it should have given. She says, but it was what it was, and I ended up loving it, but it wasn't the original ending of the movie. Apparently, the original ending of the movie was supposed to be a much more pared down version, and she's noting that Wonder Woman 88 has kind of the pared down ending as well that didn't have any studio interference. So we'll see. I know the different things I've seen, the ratings are kind of mixed about Wonder Woman 88, but I'll say, there's two really cool action set pieces to open up the film, one way in the past and one in the film's present, and they're two different types of action, and they're both really good. So
yeah, so what I've seen the mixed reviews as well, and a couple of my friends watched it, and they said it was fun, but it wasn't as up to par with the first Wonder Woman, which, again, even before some of the stuff we've heard over the last week, I was worried about the sequelitis. A lot of sequels get where they're trying to outdo what they did in the first one.
Yeah,
and it comes off a little bit more bland. I'm still looking forward to it. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, that was, and again, Warner Brothers studio interference, because we've talked about it. I told you I watched Wonder Woman, the first one, last week, and first, like you said, first 2/3 of the movie is so good, so well done, and then you get that that CG fest, which I was watching and just rolling my eyes and saying, this is absolutely studio interference. You could just tell.
So if you end that movie with like Steve Trevor catching like a bullet in that war scene, and then you skip all of the Ares God of War stuff, and you just cut all of that out. You cut the Nazi party, like not the Nazi party. You cut the Nazi soiree out.
Yeah,
and you do the stuff with the doctor and the poison, like, but without any of the other stuff, then yeah, it's fantastic. But you're cutting out like 40 minutes of screen time, and not 40. Let's be more fair. You're cutting out probably 25 to 30 minutes of screen time. Right. And then we're talking about how this is a great movie. But Wonder Woman did not make $1 billion.
No.
But Wonder Woman also did better domestically than it did overseas. And for people who kind of complain about things here, like, that should tell you everything you need to know about the rest of the world if you're concerned about things. So I liked the first Wonder Woman. I really did. I just didn't like the end. And it wasn't like, oh, I didn't like the end of this movie because of Wonder Woman. I don't like the end of any DC movie. They cannot stick the landings at all. Man of Steel, the end kills that. It kills it for me. And it's not because, spoilers, he kills Zod. It's because it's just lazy. Justice League, the end is awful. The end is literally the worst part of a bad movie.
That's bad.
Right?
That's really bad.
Man versus Superman. The last 30 minutes of that movie are some of the worst writing in cinema history. Aquaman, the end of Aquaman is the same thing as the end of Black Panther, which was also not a good ending because it was lazy and cheap. I'm trying to think. Suicide Squad, the end of Suicide Squad is awful, and that got changed just like the first Wonder Woman. So, the thing that we're seeing here is DC superhero movies have a common theme. They're good up to a point, and then they don't know what to do because they don't like the direction that it's going, because it's not going to sell merch or toys or have a big muddy CG slog fest. So they just barf out an end. The only movie that I think is kind of decent all the way through and, is Shazam. And Shazam's not a very good movie. It's fun.
Yeah.
It would be like the Ant-Man of the DCEU, but with less heart, charm, and Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
And this is from a Zach Levi fanboy.
Yeah. And again, you look at it from I look at movies like it's good, how much I like it, fun factor, and rewatchability. And a lot of these movies don't have the rewatchability factor. And
the only one I really rewatch is Wonder Woman until she walks into the party with the sword. And then
I was going to say
Shazam.
Up until a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shazam, Aquaman is really rewatchable too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And as someone who's not a huge Jason Momoa fan, he makes that movie fun.
Right.
Also knowing that Boba Fett is his dad, it is fun as well. Which I'm just using as a really cheap segue into our next topic.
The Book of Boba Fett.
The Book of Boba Fett. So John Favreau went on Good Morning America this week and kind of broke it down to provide more details on Boba Fett and the relationship to the Mandalorian. It's its own show. It's I don't know if it's going to be a limited series or not, but it's going to be its own show. There are two different shows. The Mandalorian season 3 hasn't gone into production yet. So yeah, I think he said at the end of the show, Boba Fett came out and said, "This is the Book of Boba Fett." Blah blah blah. This wasn't a part of the big Disney announcement from the investor call. So, and then they released the logo, which is actually pretty cool. God damn, they're making me kind of enjoy Boba Fett.
Their master plan is complete now.
So I got the Galaxies of Adventure 4 that just came out with Ahsoka the clone with the Ahsoka markings, Maul and Boba Fett, and I put them all up and I put a picture of it and someone's like, "Did you actually buy a Boba Fett?" And it's like, it came with, I pre-ordered the 4-pack, so it kind of just came with it. But he's a cool looking, it's a nice looking figure and everything. But yeah, I have Boba Fett figures and stuff. Like I have the original Black Series one, and I have I have both Celebration ones and stuff like that. And I think I have the carbonized one. But I don't go out of my way to get Boba Fett figures. They just kind of, it's like, oh, here, it's here. It's a nice one. I'll buy it.
Yeah, and
I got the first one on I found in the wild. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say that the Mandalorian did something that no one thought possible. They made Boba Fett effective from a live action standpoint.
Right, he's not a little biatch. He's a badass. So yeah, and I love that. Just going back to the finale from Mandalorian finale last week, that the music of when he takes over the Jabba's palace and sits down on his throne, his new throne. Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this, like you said, we don't know we don't have enough details on limited what type of series, the length of the series.
Right.
You know, is it going to be a part of that like Star Wars cinematic or Disney Plus universe that they're talking about with some of the ones like Ahsoka and all the other ones, how they're going to kind of mesh into like an Avengers type style story where they're all going to come together or something.
Well, they have said like they're all going to come together in some big corporate event. So
I like that corporate event.
I mean, it is what it is. So.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this because Temuera Morrison was
he was great. Boba. He was great. So hopefully we get to see him as Rex in the Ahsoka series.
Now that would I would like that.
So I wonder, like, okay, I'm gonna say this, and I'm not saying it to be mean, but I wonder if they're gonna have him get into like better shape.
Yeah,
like, because everyone was making the joke that he's like dad bod Boba. I don't know if you saw those memes, but
no, I did not.
Like, if they got him like kind of like, you know, he's in Jabba's palace now, or I guess Boba's palace. I wonder if he's got a gym there to use or whatever. Like, it would be great to see like a fighting montage with Fennec, like kind of teaching him some cool like Fennec moves.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Or let's go back to one of the old with Shadows of the Empire, Prince Zizor.
Yeah.
Or Exor. He had the he had the shake weight machine,
right,
where he just got into it and bulked up that way. That's all he did.
So hey, dude, the shake weight is, I don't know, I've never used it or actually seen one in person, so I have no idea if it works or not.
Scourge had one in Thor Ragnarok.
I know, but I've never seen one like live, like, you know. But that was just with his stuff, and like he was really more interested in Dez and Troy. So anyway. All right. So sticking with Star Wars, there has been a rumor, and this was from Fandom Wire, claiming an exclusive that there's a Luke Skywalker series in development, and it'll be using the deepfake technology, most likely. Probably not Sebastian Stan, but he's one of the names being considered. I will say that the dude who did all of the Luke stuff, where'd it go? In The Mandalorian was Max Lloyd Jones. Did an amazing job. And if they are going to do like a deep fake type thing or you know, de-aged Mark Hamill face, like, just keep that guy. Like, he had some sick ass Jedi moves.
Oh, absolutely. From the Jedi perspective, I'm not a fan of the deep fake stuff.
So there's a difference. So there's the de-aging thing that Disney did, and then there's deep fake. Yeah. With the deep fake technology. And have you seen that? Like, people have gone and done like the difference. And they've done the actual deep fake of Mark Hamill, and it looks amazing.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
Let me go back for a second. So what they did, I wasn't a fan of what they did in The Mandalorian. Now, and again, I don't know the budgets of this and stuff, but if you look back at, I think, Captain Marvel and what they did with Samuel L. Jackson, I thought if they would do something like that with Luke, okay, I could deal with that. I mean, I think I would, to be honest, would rather have a recast.
Yeah. I'd rather have a recast.
but I think if they did it the way they did it in Captain Marvel.
Okay, so they had Sam Jackson age down, and they had Clark Gregg age down.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson looked fabulous. He looked fantastic. Clark Gregg's nose came to a literal point. Like it was a point. Like the Clark Gregg one was really bad, and the hair plugs the wig that they had on him was horrific.
And that made no sense because, like you said, the Nick Fury one was fine.
Well, it's because you know the saying,
black don't crack.
Exactly. And you know, I mean, Sam Jackson definitely looks older than he did in, say, Coming to America, but he doesn't look that much older.
Right.
So
that is true.
Let's add some fairness to the stereotype. You know,
I mean, hey, I could pass for college age.
Yeah.
You know, shave this So
you don't look any different than when we first met.
No.
Just you've swelled a little
more
bit.
Facial hair.
You've swelled.
Yeah.
Like we both swelled.
Yeah. I'm trying to get that Amos bod, which is far from, you're
almost
where
there.
I'm at right now.
You're almost there. Like you're a matter of years away. So, I don't know. But so yeah. I mean, if they do a Luke series, cool. I don't want it to be ongoing, and I think maybe like taking an episode out of like Boba, and obviously they're probably not going to be able to do this, but take an episode out of Boba, take an episode out of The Mandalorian, take an episode out of Rangers, and do that as like the Grogu update with Luke.
Right.
Would be kind of cool. So the other thing, just kind of in line with this, is there were people like talking about like why Ahsoka didn't know Yaddle, right? She's like, well, why didn't Ahsoka know Yaddle? Yaddle was dead by the time, or gone. We don't know if she was dead or not. Well, in the comics, she was dead. Was gone by the time Ahsoka became a Padawan.
Yeah, so
because she went on a mission with Anakin and saved his life, like sacrificed her in the comics, sacrificed herself to save the Chosen One. And
that's canon, right? Like
that's canon, yeah. And like the well, I think it's canon. I don't know if it was at Disney anyway. But then but like people were like, oh well, she's been decanonized. It's like she can't be decanonized. She's in the movies.
Yeah, I was about to say she's in the prequels.
Like if they decanonize Yaddle from the movies, it's fair game to decanonize the sequel trilogy.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
And the great little timeline shift thing that people have been sharing where it shows the timeline and then it has the holiday special as its own timeline with the sequel trilogies after that. And then I went and I added High Republic to that as like so anyway, which is mean because I haven't read any of the High Republic books yet. So the Charles Soule one comes out soon and I'm definitely going to read it just because it's Charles Soule. But yeah, so interesting stuff with Star Wars to kind of circle it back around. I think Sebastian Stan would be a fantastic Luke Skywalker, but he's already kind of busy. And maybe you just go get another unknown kind of late 30s, mid 30s guy to be Luke Skywalker as the, God King of the Jedi Empire.
And to be honest, that might be the best, even though I think I would love to have Stan as Luke. Not just because I like him as an actor. And he does. And again, we've seen the pictures.
Oh, it's crazy. It is unbelievable.
But it may behoove them to do what you just said and kind of get a relative unknown and, go from there. Yes.
Because I think if they continue to do the deep fake stuff, it's just not. It's not going to look good. People are going to complain. I'll tell you, it looked better watching it on your phone than it did on your TV because it was such a compressed image.
Oh, really? Okay.
So
it was the opposite of my episode 7 experience watching it when I was at Disney on my phone.
Right. Yes. So, all right, let's move on to It's Raining Rocks.
With Gaugamela.
Yeah, Gaugamela. That was the episode title, Gaugamela. It's Gaugamela, I think is the way you say it. Which I had looked up what it meant, and now I forget what Gaugamela means.
I was going to ask you that.
So there's a really easy way to do this.
It honestly kind of reminds me of also Gulag, which we visited basically a Gulag in a sense.
So there was a Battle of Gaugamela. Oh, I'm sorry. The Battle of Gaugamela was Alexander the Great's, I think his initial invasion into the Persian Empire.
Okay.
So, and there are a ton of Alexander the Great allegories between him and Marco and Aros.
I was about to say that makes a lot of sense, that reference and that title.
So, but yeah, it was Northwest Arabia. It still exists today, although it's called Erbil, Erbil. So yeah, and it was just a major battle for Alexander the Great. If you want to go look it up, there's a Britannica.com. The old Encyclopedia Britannica has a really great write-up on it, because as I just went into my browser, there it was. So that when I was doing the research. Anyway, so yeah, this episode was amazing. It was so good.
I don't remember, and again, recency bias or not, I don't remember the last time I was watching an Expanse episode, and my body was just tense the whole time.
It was when the Somnambulist was being targeted by the Martian Congressional Navy, and Holden was going after the proto-molecule hybrid and had to break off to go save the Somnambulist. That was the last time.
That is a great comparison right there.
It had an awesome-ass speech at the end of it, albeit truncated compared to what Marco does at the end of this episode. But it's where we got, this is the warship Rocinante. We have target lock to all of you. You are well aware of our capabilities. Go ahead and try it, bitches. You know,
this is your one and final warning.
This is your one and final warning. I mean, come on. Like, that's what made you journalism all over the place for Stephen Strait. Don't lie. So anyway, no, I mean, this is wow. I mean, just wow. We got Peaches back in this episode. We got to see the pit, which I'm really excited to see the pit next week.
Oh yeah.
You know, so the pit
is was that his name?
Yeah. Oh, dude, that guy looked great. With the mods, like with like kind of the wiring on him and everything.
Yep. Little cyberpunk type.
Yeah. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
I don't like anyway. Regardless of the game cyberpunk, I don't like the whole like genre of cyberpunk. It's not that I don't like it. I just don't love it. Which is why I don't like Blade Runner. Well, I don't like Blade Runner because it's boring. But the pit was great. I loved Amos's and we're just skipping around. By the way, spoilers. I loved Amos's.
Yeah, spoilers. Yeah.
Just assume we're gonna spoil everything. You know, it's been almost a week. I loved Amos's interaction with the guard. When he was going in and he needed to give yes or no answers, he's like, yeah, whatever. And the guy looks at him and he's like, yes. And then when he's going through the bag and he takes out the bottle and then that of the bourbon that he got from Eric, and then Lydia's Timothy mug that she made for him, and he's like, you need to be careful with that. And it's like, which one is he talking about, I wonder? Because they could be either with him or both. Right. Yeah. So
I think it's kind of both in that situation.
Yeah, but that was great. But that was like, so I remember that scene very vividly from the book, right? When Avasarala got him set up to go see Clarissa Mao, Peaches. I was worried because we did not get the whole Clarissa Mao being brought back to Earth in the Roci. With Mercury and everything. Or that wasn't with Mercury. Was that with Mercury?
I don't remember.
No, that wasn't with Mercury. That was when they took her back from the ring back to they're the ones who took her back to Luna, because we had that great scene with Jules Pierre Mao in the book that we didn't get in the show, but where Amos kind of befriended her and was teaching her like mechanical stuff and like really kind of took her on as a little sister.
Yeah, and I was worried about that too. How, you know, we saw her in the premiere of last season and that was it. And we never kind of got, I mean, they hinted at it, their conversation, you know, because she was like, I got one call, I called you or whatever. Yeah. But, you know, especially for someone who is just watching the series.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering how that was going to play out. And it's props to not only the writing team, but the two actors for being able to, in that scene in the pit, to kind of give us that backstory without us having seen the backstory of their relationship.
Nadine Nicole is the actress who plays Clarissa Mao. She hasn't been in a ton of stuff, right? She did. I mean, she's done some TV, but like an episode here or there and things like that. But she did more with a groggy look coming out of like the treatment that she was getting to suppress her implants. She did more with a look than most actors and actresses do with, 25 pages of dialogue. And I think Dan Nowak, who wrote this episode, did such a great job like writing out that scene. And then Nick Gomez, the director, like must have really had a vision for how he wanted this to go, because like there was so much subtlety that happened that, we love Wes Chatham. And subtlety is not necessarily like his go-to as an actor, but he really pulled it off.
Yeah, absolutely, he did. And I love again, I was all about the some of the dialogue choices from last week's episode, and this is the same way. For the second straight appearance, Amos comes across as going into a place where it's not his comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
First we had it with Charles,
right.
when Charles breaks down and he's like, okay, what do I do? And he just kind of pats him awkwardly, like, yeah, the tea sounds nice. In this one, like when Clarissa's going over, everything she's going through, and then, it's like, hey, can't you get your mods out or whatever, like that. And then she ends up asking him, did you come here to help me? And he has this like puzzled look, and he's like working it out in his brain, and he's like, yeah, I guess I did.
Yeah. I came here because you're my friend.
Yeah. And her response to his, I guess I did. And she was like, you can't. And she's like, not every stain comes out. And that to me echoed what Bobbie told Alex a couple episodes ago, where she's like, you can't make up for everything, and you're an effing idiot if you try.
Right.
And, Clarissa says it in a less Martian Marine type way.
Right.
It's the same thing. And that I just love that back, like you said, like everyone involved in this scene, from the actors to the writers to the director, did such a fantastic job just encapsulating the relationship of these two characters and where they are at in their lives.
Right. Yeah. No, you're 100% on point there, and it was a really cool little scene. And then the scene with them ends with a big kind of power outage or whatever, and then the ceiling cracks. And we don't get any more with them.
Yeah. Which, like, I cannot wait for next week's episode.
Dude, just watching the carnage of things hitting Earth was really cool. I liked how they just alluded to, like, in a report that it happened on Mars as well.
Right.
I thought that was great, not just flat out showing us that, because like Earth is the one that's in so Earth is in peril, and humanity is in peril with Earth being under attack, because Earth provides so much to the rest of the not just the inners, but to the belters as well. And this attack is hardcore.
Oh, absolutely. And like the first rock hits Dakar, I think they said.
Yeah.
And hundreds of thousands, I believe that was the initial report. So hundreds of thousands, they're talking about the power grids down. This is a nightmare for just one of the rocks hitting. That's a nightmare.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
you get, like you said, when with the whole prison, you get the one, I think it hit like 40 kilometers northwest of Philly or something, they said. And again, we don't get how bad that is. I don't think. I think they kind of go through it with Avasarala or what have you.
A little, yeah.
But again, we're just talking about the initial burst. We're not talking about the aftermath where you're going to see hundreds of thousands of deaths because of everything else going on with it. And then you get the third one, which again we might want to kind of backtrack with the whole Avasarala. You're trying to get a hold of.
Yeah, she's trying to like her and Delgado have been blackballed. Nobody will take their calls. Nobody wants to listen to them. and she's doing like she shows why she's such a badass, and she's like, wait a second, I know everybody on that ship. And the scene with the cook and the chef, he's like, I'm the chef, like, you know, and she's like, I know, you fattened me up for years
with macaroons,
right? With macaroons. That was great.
Yeah, and again, it's frustrating, but it's understandable in the sense of how, well, I won't say, no, not understandable. It's frustrating, but I can identify with it in the sense of how politics has gone over the lifetime of humanity.
Yeah.
And again, you know, people want to just look at politics, how politics goes now because it's, you know, recency bias. But look at politics throughout the history of humanity. People are dumb in the sense of, you know, they have their political agendas. They don't want to necessarily listen to someone on it from an opposing point of view because, you know, they want to take the credit. And again, this is something that you've seen throughout history with humanity. That's just how people are. And that's one of the things, even though Expanse takes place 300 years or so into the future. Yeah. It's the same thing. And that's the problem. And, you know, we can kind of get into a little bit of this when we talk about Marco's speech, but, you know, it's kind of like that, you know, just that unending circle where they're not breaking the cycle. And the whole 30 seconds, that's all you would have needed to listen to Avasarala, see what she was saying. But, you know, petty differences and, you know, all that stuff, which we've always had as humanity, is kind of gets in the way. But I just love how she does she's able to circumvent that and is able to. And I did appreciate how Gal was not arrogant enough to dismiss her. Gal knew that, you know, this is bigger than me.
Right. And well, but here's the thing: is she knew after it was too late. like, you know, because because like, let's be honest, Avasarala had burned that bridge 100%. Like, she was horrible to her. She like not just when she was a rival, but when she was her secretary, whichever high cabinet role she had. I mean, and you know, so it made sense, but at the same time, you know, it was too little, too late, and you know, Gal paid the price.
Yeah, but they did save. They basically saved Earth from total destruction.
They did, because the order went out. Yeah. Sorry.
That the watchtowers did get tasked in time, and they destroyed, as you know, as Belters say, Tree of the Rocks. Yeah. I don't know why I have like that tickled me how they're like that tree, you know, tree got destroyed or something like that.
But yeah, so no, it was a really interesting thing. And the thing is the destruction on Earth was not even like the most costly thing to this show with the destruction, because if we look at what happened on Tycho, okay, wow. So this scene went really different than the book. Like, really different. So one, just to start, rest in power, Fred Johnson. Chad Coleman will be greatly missed on this show. So Fred gets shot in the book during this scene, if you remember. Right. And they save him, but he died this time, and I'm really interested to see, because Fred still had a ton of story to go. But Sasaki shoots him, you know, which I did not remember her being the one that turned. Yeah, I didn't think it was anyone who had worked on the Rossi. But I thought it was a really cool choice, because again, it even though I had an expectation, they were able to surprise me.
Yeah. And and again, you know, with the Holden love, I love seeing him just have, you know, paying attention to his instincts, where he's just like, something's wrong here. Yeah. And then without even thinking, he's just like, hey, Bull, get out of there. It's a trap. Yeah. And, you know, he saves Bull's life. Absolutely. You know, unfortunately, and again, that, you know, Sakai shooting, and it's funny watching it over again. You can see her positioning herself. Yeah. Because again,
when you go back and watch it, Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I didn't notice it because this didn't happen the way I remembered in the book. So I wasn't expecting it to this point. But watching how she, after a certain point where she backs up from where she is at, against the glass, like positioning herself, to take the shot on Johnson. So some of those little things and just watching some of her body language, after what's going on was great. That's one of the things I like rewatching things is like, how did I miss this? Or what did I miss? Which would have hinted at this. And yeah. And then it's just kind of like chaos where, they're trying to save Fred. Holden ends up going after Sakai. And because Fred tells him, he's like, hey, the protomolecule is in my quarters. Which another thing I did miss, and this is, because the terminal he's trying to touch is kind of like floating around.
Right.
He does try to eject it because I'm like,
yeah,
what
he's trying to hit
measures?
release.
Yeah, but it's like a failed attempt because I think everything is down. So that was my fault in the first instance, and that's why, again, perfect example of why
we watch these multiple times before we talk about them.
Because I'd have been like, hey, why didn't Fred have this, that, or the other, as a safety precaution? And you'd have been like, well, he did try to hit that. So like, oh, I feel dumb. But yeah, that made sense. And
so I do have to say when he's finally got Fred on his way to gravity so the docs can work on him, Holden goes out in the hallway. And as he's walking, how he just casually grabs that 0G gun, like the gun just floating there, was the coolest freaking thing.
I love that.
Like
that was like a gunslinger move.
I could never be that cool. Like, I mean, I'm not cool in general, let's be honest. But I could. That's like a level of coolness like I aspire to be.
Yeah, that was one of those just small tidbits. It just not even breaking stride.
And like he's like, oh well, thank you. And then that scene with that bot that was tasked to use that word again to retrieve the protomolecule was freaking awesome. So in the book, what happens is it's in the safe in Fred's wall, and they literally blow the wall and just take the whole safe. Yeah. Right, they just take the whole section of wall, and it was cool. I will say, I thought it was a little weird that they blew out part of the wall and everybody didn't immediately get vaxxed into space.
Yeah, it was like space was kind of casually taking its time.
Well, but here's the thing though, is they weren't facing outside space; they were facing the inside of Tycho's, storage system. So maybe, like, there's a little bit of protection there to, like, it's not just gonna rip you right out. I don't know. So that was like one kind of like minor tidbit. But yeah, Monica, they were trying to suit Monica and take them with her, which was weird. I'm kind of interested to find out where that was going. I do think it's cool that they captured Saki alive. So we're gonna get some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and to going back to your point of how Fred Johnson still had a big part to play, I'm curious to see how much they kind of pare down versus how much they rewrite and task it to other characters.
Yeah, like, are they going to give some of that to Bull? I don't think that works.
Bull's not the type for. I mean, we talk about how Avasarala is that the matriarch or that strong, the Iron Lady type character, and in a way, Fred Johnson is that on the male side.
Yeah, he was the Iron Lady of the belt.
Yeah, so having him gone is, man, and again, that was one of those that I remember him being.
Maybe Drummer steps up. Like, maybe this is the thing to just consolidate and have Camina take over the OPA.
It could be. And this is what I'd like about this show is just despite reading the books, they make changes that I think a lot of times are better. I'm not prepared to say this is a better change because Chad Coleman is so good.
Is so good in everything that he does. When he was Cuddy on The Wire, that's the first thing I ever saw him in. like as he shows up in different shows, I'm always super excited because he's just awesome. I love
his voice.
His facial expressions are what get me.
Yeah.
So, because he's got kind of those big eyes that kind of bug out a little bit if he needs them to.
Yeah, he has that intensity.
But he's got that like calm, like as an actor, right? When he's portraying characters, there's that calmness, but you know he's a duck under, like with the feet under the water, like everything's always being calculated, and that's why I thought he was a perfect Fred Johnson. But yeah, okay. So then let's touch in with Alex and Bobbie,
which
in the newly rechristened Screaming Firehawk.
I was just about to say the most important part of the show. No.
So
yeah, I loved how it said, at first it said, the Razorback, and then it just Screaming Firehawk.
So Bobbie, Alex got his wish. So they're chasing down the Martian Navy convoy, trying to stay out of sight. You just get some back and forth. You get Bobbie talking about her rat that she named Mouse. Which, Mouse Rat, greatest band in the history of Pawnee. Just like Rat Mouse, not so good. That's when, they don't have Andy and, anyway. So, but no, it was really cool. And Bobbie kind of shares with why she's, the way she is, which was great. And then they get the notice that there's a lockdown, and like we really didn't get a whole lot with him, but what we got was really strong.
Yeah. So a couple things about this. I like how they just, the show starts with them in the sense of giving us a preview, not a preview, but the newscast of what happened on Earth with the first asteroid. And I love the second one is I love their conversation. She's talking about her rat and everything, but her point is she says, no matter how traumatic the loss is, you only have so much emotional stamina. Even grief can get used up. And she's like, and she goes on to say, after that's done, you're going to want to do something.
Right.
And one of the things I love, Alex, he's like, you know what? It sucks that I'm not going to be there for my kid to explain this to him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I hope he has somebody like you, Bobbie. Because, again, this is the thing, we talked about over the last couple of weeks is that the relationship they have of Martians who both have grown up on Mars with the idea that Mars will one day become a garden. And that having that ripped away from them is bad enough. But then, again, going my Captain America route, finding out what they've believed in all this time has soured and become this, terrible organization in the sense of, it doesn't stand for the Mars ideals anymore. It's about, getting that quick buck. It's about doing stuff under the table, illegal stuff under the table. So all of this stuff that they were raised on, they find out it's not that it was a lie, but it's that it's changed and for them the worst way possible. And, something that they used to be proud of, they're ashamed of. And again, it's causing major, and when we don't, they haven't gotten to the point to see how much this is affecting the whole solar system. But I just love that idea of them, commiserating about, how we grew up and, the seeing the truth for what it is.
Hail Hydra. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it was really, really great. I love the two of them together. I love it. And again, knowing how their relationship should be morphing, and then the way she when Bobbie gets older and the way she lusts after Alex's kid is really it's like a great little trope in the book. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's get to wrapping this up, because the most
show stealer,
show
stealer
Philip and Sin and Oksana, get Naomi to the Pella, which the Pella is freaking awesome. Like, dude, can we take a second and just like talk about how amazing the interior set of the Pella is? It is so cool.
that is something else I did not appreciate during my first watch because I was so enamored with Marco. I didn't get a chance to kind of step back and look at the interior of that ship. That looked absolutely incredible.
It was way to go, well Expanse crew. Like,
yeah, well done.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like, because the Rossi is a cool looking interior ship. The Screaming Firehawk is a cool looking interior ship. The Donnie was a cool looking interior ship. This one, the Pella puts them all to shame.
Yeah, it seems like it has the best. Like, it's closer in ways to me. It's closer to the the Rossi.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Martian.
Yeah, exactly. But it's upgraded. It's
new.
It looks like it's new. Yeah, amazing.
But
even that pales into comparison.
Yeah. So before we get to his Alexander the Great moment here, let's he's talking to Naomi and she's like, I never thought I'd see you again, and he's going off, and he shows, like, so this was one of my favorite things in the book, is he's always putting Philip down.
Yes. And
they hadn't really shown much of it, like what they had shown a little bit, because we haven't had a lot of scenes with Philip and Marco together. He was very loving, and then this time he sits that put down in there, and it's like, there's the crack. There is the initial crack that is his 100% downfall, because Philip only wants to be viewed as an equal, and Marco, and this is Marco's hubris, and then, like, spoilers, this is what's going to end him. He has no equal in his mind.
Yes, and that's a great point, Brian. That people like that who believe that they're above everyone else, they can't help themselves when they get the opportunity, even if it's kind of like they try to do it in a loving or a joking way, putting people down. I've known people like this where they slip these things in where it's not as their voice inflection and everything seems like they're playing, but the words are so biting and damaging to the person that they're directing it at, and you can see it from Philip's reaction where he's like, I guess he still wants his mother.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a kick in the teeth for Philip.
Right.
And for all this time, hey, I did all this, I did this, and you see how they when they see each other for the first time, that loving hug, and Philip thinks, I've arrived. I'm my dad's equal, and then to have Marco do that.
Yeah, I mean, it was so good, and then we get and then he tells Naomi, as he tells her to take her back to her cell, I guess, room. He says, welcome home.
Yeah.
Which was just like, it was the biggest middle finger he could give her in front of their son.
Yes.
So,
and to be to feel that powerless, she can't do anything right now.
And she is not one who deals well with feeling powerless, because if you remember on Illis, when she was dealing with gravity sickness, she doesn't do well when she feels that way. So I'm really excited for the scene that we're hopefully going to get in the next episode. So the speech, though, I mean, this was his Alexander the Great moment, right? This was the first decisive victory, and what will actually be many, because he's not just a crazy person. He is
he's not a one and done.
No,
he's intelligent.
He's amazing. Keon Alexander, I was telling you on the phone yesterday, or maybe the day before. No, it wasn't yesterday. It was the day before. When we got to the point where we were going to have Marcos, I had no idea. I had no idea who was going to play him. I had no idea who I wanted to play him. I just know he was this infectious character with charisma and strategy and madness in the books. And Keon Alexander I can't think of anyone I'd rather have play him now. Like, he did such a good job in the limited scene we got with him last year. But now seeing him, like, I love the scenes where he's standing in the holographic map. That's like that. I think that's so telling to who he is. But I told you, it's his eyes, right?
Yes.
So do you remember Spartacus?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So there were two different actors that played Spartacus, because the first one died, and Andy's power in Spartacus was his voice, like the just the tone of his voice, the way he affected things with what he said. But then Liam said more with his eyes, and Keon Alexander is that kind of actor where he's very expressive with his eyes. But then he gave the speech, and I was like, I journalismed all over the place. Like I had a total man crush now. It was amazing.
And one of the most important things in general when you're trying to persuade somebody is, not lying. And
right.
The dangerous thing about Marco is that not only is he passionate and has that charisma and intelligence, but he uses the truth to redirect people towards his own goals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what he was saying about Belters, being, downtrodden, being, basically kicked around for, generations is true. And, he knows, he understands that how the Belters feel, because he is one, he's been around them his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But his ability to take what is true and wrap it in this just charismatic bouquet of just dialogue was fantastic. And like you said, Keon's his eyes, because one of the things, like you mentioned the three qualities of Marco, and a lot of actors I think could have done two of the three, but the way he is able to intermesh all three of them together is phenomenal. And you can see that kind of crazed part of Marco in his eyes, knowing that, but other people don't see it because he's so charismatic. And that's the thing. People like him are able to influence those who are at a point or in a circumstance where they're looking for direction, they're looking for guidance. Because I think that's what people in general are looking for. They're looking for guidance. They see themselves as, hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And Marco is that calming voice that tells you it's going to be okay because I'm here.
Yep. And then calling it the Free Navy. And I loved how it kept kind of cutting to Tycho and then Luna and then back to Marco. It was just a great way to end the fourth episode and set up the entire second half of the season.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, honestly, as much as he disgusted me for what he did and what he's willing to do, you couldn't help but get chills by listening to like the passion.
Dude, goosebumps the entire time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other cool thing, and I know we've compared this episode a lot to the book because this is a really important moment in Nemesis games. Nemesis game, sorry, is Marco is atypical of a Belter because he's so well spoken. He doesn't speak with the Belter lilt. And I think I feel like they did a really good job of kind of putting a little bit of Belter back into his voice here.
Yes.
Because he speaks clearly. He doesn't speak in the weird like Belter Yoda mixed hybrid English.
Yeah.
But like, at the same time, he's still like, you were saying like tree, it's like, we threw tree rocks. They like, that's the thing that still endears him to the OPA members. Like, let's not even say the OPA members who have decided to like, hitch their wagon to his meteors.
Yeah. And again, a lot of times people compare this to Game of Thrones in space, and one of the things the Expanse. Just listen.
Okay.
Stop. Listen. What I'm saying is, Game of Thrones, a lot of times, we've talked about this, how one choice just sets up a domino effect. And we'll go back to our, Lady Stark. Her actions caused the downfall of her family.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And you think back to, I'm fascinated with this idea of how, one choice sparks so many things, like, even though you don't see it. When Drummer has the chance to be the deciding vote in, having Marco executed, her reasoning is sound. She doesn't
Right.
want a civil war within the belt.
Right.
And again, this kind of goes back to what Marco says to Ashford. He's like, even our dreams are limited, or something along those lines.
Right.
And the drummer could not see how far Marco could take things. And again, we see this a little bit of her feeling guilty from Ashford dying. How is she going to feel knowing that Marco did this, killed millions of people, and she could have stopped it?
Right.
It's going to be really interesting to see. And again, one of the things you said is, are they going to bring her back to kind of consolidate since Fred's gone? Are they going to give her some of his story? What they're going to do with that? I'm really interested to see what they do with her character, knowing the guilt she already feels because of her friend Ashford died.
Right. Oh, right. You're
is she
absolutely
going to have, is she going to have, the death of millions of Martians and Earthers on her conscience now?
Yeah. I will just say, like, Daniel Abrams and Ty Frenick are superior writers to George R. R. Martin in every way. That was my argument. Like, I don't disagree with anything that you said.
I mean, again, I think the Expanse series, just as a book series, I could reread many more times than I could Game of Thrones.
So I'm almost done with Chapter House Dune. So, which is my, I read Dune every year, but I don't go through the whole series every year.
Right.
But like, I'm almost done with Chapter House, and like, I've got the Expanse novels and novellas that have the audiobooks queued up, ready to go next.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I get your point, because there are some authors that I love their books, but and just like movies, I might like a movie X, but I don't want to reread it. The Expanse is a book series I could absolutely reread. Game of Thrones, not so much.
Right.
So I agree with you on that. So that was my way of saying
awesome.
that.
So out of 5 Rossies, this episode gets 12. So
amazing.
It was
Again,
amazing.
But before this, as far as season 5, we both said we thought we thought Churn was the best episode. Man, this makes Churn seem like, again, just comparing episodes, Churn is still a great episode, but this one just...
Yeah, I mean, this is why we don't compare episode to episode. Like,
yeah, because again, we said it does what it's supposed... Churn did exactly what it's supposed to do, and in that, it was brilliant. Ooh, I don't know what that was.
So I will say, watch Mother and then watch Gaugamela back to back, because it's a 2-part episode, 100%.
Oh, I'll have to do that.
As I was like going through and looking at it, it's like this is like the special episode in the middle of the season that wasn't meant to be cut in 2, but and I here's the thing though, is I think had they put the first 4 episodes out, this episode would not have been as powerful.
You know what? I think you're right. And again, we talked about this when they did this with The Boys.
Yep.
Like releasing this, the first 3 episodes is a perfect way to whet our appetite, but also set the foundation. Like this is not a foundation setter like the first 3 was. Mm-mm. This was something totally different.
This is the game changer.
Yes, so, absolutely a game changer.
The Nemesis game changer. Oh, I went there. That's right. Wah, wah, wah.
Dad joke 101.
Yup. Dad jokes. I got dad jokes. You want dad jokes? I got dad jokes.
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing.
Yeah. All right. On that note, thank you to Julian Brown and Matt Mitchell for supporting us through Patreon. You can join them at patreon.com/infospodcast, or just go to infospodcast.com and check it out. Check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. We've been doing a lot more, or actually we've been posting the episodes on there. And after the new year, we're actually we have a plan. Like the Cylons.
It's not part of a plan.
No, it's we have like 58% of a plan right now, which is much better than 12% of the plan, because we've thought about the minutia. That's my favorite interaction in the whole Guardians movie.
Same, me too.
Yeah. Anyway, that wasn't a laugh. That wasn't a real laugh. It's the realest laugh ever. Anyway,
it is real.
It is real. All right. Merry Christmas. I don't think we'll be back before. No. So
no, we won't.
No. Yeah. Happy New Year. 2020 coming to an end. So maybe all the bullshit that went along with it will end magically on December 31st. Or not. So, cool. Darryl, any last words?
Brian? No.
I mean, these are the last words of 2020 for the podcast. So
yeah, it's just have a great New Year's, and if you're not watching The Expanse, you probably shouldn't be listening to this because
no, listen to us and then go watch it and read it and love it and enjoy it. I will say our certified infamous best of we are going to do in January, just because I have plans for that one and I haven't even filled Darryl in on those yet. So yeah. Awesome. On that note, we'll see you guys later.
Peace out.
Bye. The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, with new episodes out every Sunday. You can find more information about the show online at infamouspodcast.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @InfamousPodcast. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcatching app. If you're enjoying the show, consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or check out our Patreon at patreon.com/infamouspodcast for our new tiers and rewards. The Infamous Podcast is hosted and produced by me, Brian Tudor, with music provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. You can find me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @BrianTudor. So, whenever you're listening to the show, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is. And we'll see you next time. Later.